Chat, this is a video from a guy called Rooks, playing World of Warcraft for a whole year as a player that has never touched the game before.
It has been 1 year since I started developing carpal tunnel syndrome as a troll warrior. Starting from zero knowledge about World of Warcraft, I have now transcended into a being of pure Zugzug that still doesn't know what his abilities really do, but as long as I mash them hard enough and enemy die, me happy. But even though I'm 19 years behind on a story about two sides being cool, and then not cool, and then cool again, still confused about how the fuck professions work, and how this is apparently some 1,000-year-old dragon dude. Even without the use of guides, I've managed to learn some things, like how to interrupt, use heroic leap, and at one point I even found myself playing an older version of the game that made me constantly want to shit myself. But all that aside, it really has been a journey. So let me tell you about my first year playing World of Warcraft.
Let's see.
Now, I'm sure there's many reasons why people start and keep playing WoW. Whether it's to find a community, mine rocks for hours to sell for 40 gold on the auction house, or it's because you hate yourself and you don't actually enjoy WoW anymore, but you've already invested so much time that you feel like quitting isn't an option at this point. But for me...
Okay, as rough as that sounds, okay, this has nothing to do with me because I play Classic. But I do actually think a lot of people that do play retail are just almost too, like, they're too invested into their characters. Bro, if I had been farming mounts for 18 years in a row, I would almost feel like I couldn't stop playing because it's like a part of my soul. You know, like, that's kind of scary in a way.
I started playing simply because of burnout from other games. I needed something new and a genre that I hadn't really tried before. And after I was convinced by my friend, Squirting, to try WoW with him, I thought, why not? And now a year later, here I am, doing my weekly mount runs, dying in Mythic Plus, and looking for the next transmog to finish my RGB Razor Black Widow armor set. I'm not a complete WoW addict though, clocking it at about 10 days of playtime since I started a year ago, but
okay, bro, that's nothing. Bro, dude, that is nothing, man. There are people already in the... there are people that already have this slash played in phase 2 of Season of Discovery, okay? And that's been out for like 12 days or something. Alright, that's nothing.
Since I started a year ago, but I still ask myself, is this a game that I can see myself playing in the future? And the truth is, I don't actually know. So basically, there are two versions of WoW currently, and while they share the same name, they are not the same game. My journey started in the more fast-paced, streamlined version of the game, which is WoW Retail. I'm still not really sure why it's called Retail, but I just go along with it. In my experience, I feel like the focus of Retail is to throw you in, push you through the leveling phase, and then spit you out at the end game content. Since the majority of the player base is already at the end, the leveling zones can feel somewhat isolating. You might see a player every so often, but for the most part, unless you have friends to play with, I'd imagine it'd feel like a single-player game until you can catch up the relevant content. And while I thought my leveling zone had a great storyline and environment, if I was playing alone, I'm not sure if my experience would have been as enjoyable. Luckily for me, I had people to level with, so I actually really enjoyed sharing the experience of loading a new dungeon or teaming up to fight and die instantly to a world boss. There are storylines that accompany each expansion, and when I started, I was pretty much thrown into a storyline where some parts didn't make sense because I didn't know what the hell happened in the previous ones. And maybe story isn't such an important factor for some players in MMOs, but I find that the story is what makes me want to interact with the world and drive immersion. But this was back when the game forced you to level through a specific expansion, but now you can choose to level through any expansion you like straight out of the gate. And while that is good from a story point of view because you can start from the beginning, it'd probably end up spreading out the starting player base even thinner than it already is throughout the expansions.
I also think it's just a problem because there's just too much, man. Like, and WoW is not like a game like Final Fantasy where it's like you follow the game for the story in a way. It's just, people just want to get to end game, man. Just get to end game as fast as you can and then play the game from there, right? That's pretty much it. When I first tried our retail after Classic, I did the Lore Master achievement in retail. That's fair enough. You know, there's a story in WoW. I just don't think it's as good. Like, there's not like a main story quest you follow like there is in FF where like that's the thing you follow for the story, right? But
actually leading to even more dead leveling zones.
Different game.
I'm not really sure why you can't just level in the current expansion where everything is happening instead of being cast away to some content from 10 years ago. Or you could just fucking buy it, I don't know. But all of this...
I do think that's weird. Why wouldn't they just let new players level in the new zone and then get to max that way? Because then you're at least investing into the current story, right? I would feel really weird having to level in a different expansion just to like give it all up and then like go to a new expansion and like all the stuff I've been doing was just for naught, right? Only for levels, you know? Next expansion they will. I kind of hope so. I think that would be better for the whole thing. Retail is cool for long achievements and quests and titles and stuff. A lot more solo content where you can just ignore all the toxic people. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people that play retail probably do it for the farming aspects of, like, you know, doing some transmog farming, maybe some pet battles, maybe some mount farming, and then some casual other shit, right? It's either that or you do like arena and mythic plus and raiding. That's like the two sides of it, I think, mainly. Not enough content for all the leveling processes and missing knowledge regarding the lore. Yeah.
This does change once you reach the end-game content in the form of the Dragonflight expansion. Mythic plus dungeons, dragon riding, raids while instantly need an item before I even know what it is. Mine.
Oh God.
Mine. This is when I really started to enjoy the game. So much content was opened up and it felt like I had finally finished one long-ass tutorial and now I could play the real game. There is a flooded with players and the progression is satisfying, always leaving me wanting to improve and get stronger to progress into more difficult content.
Fair enough.
And then there's the other side of the
What are you saying? There should be options to explore the story through many people who are interested in it, rather than ignoring it for letting it rust. I don't think newcomers who check WoW are interested in rushing to endgame because they have no idea what's going on anyway. There's no path of vision for them yet. The grim reality is WoW is just not friendly to newcomers, and that's why its player base is stagnating. The older players are fed up, and the new players are lost. I think that's a very good point, Ed. Actually, I do. That is, you literally hitting the nail on the hammer on the nail, whatever you say. That's why it's so difficult, because it's really hard to get into WoW. Like, it's such a difficult game to get into because there's just too much and it's so confusing. And the people that already play WoW, they kind of know what they want to play already. And I do agree, that is why Season of Discovery actually was very, very popular, not only for classic players. It's, you know where it starts, it's in classic, there's not that much different things, there's a little bit of new content, but everybody can kind of understand what's happening. It's very beginner friendly, right? Retail, there's no much bloat, and even when trying to watch it, there's so much stuff going on. Oh, for sure, bro. Like, I've had this conversation a few times before. I don't want to get too into it, man. But definitely the thing with it's a difficult game to get into if you've never played it before, right? It's just hard. I've started playing Final Fantasy XIV recently. My God, that game is confusing. To be fair, though, and I think this is just a problem with MMOs in general, they are hard to get into. Even if you know how MMOs go and how they play, when you try a new one, it's really fucking confusing. Like, when I jumped on FF14 for the first time as well, we had like a sponsored stream for it, it was so confusing. I don't know what the hell I was doing, man. Like, and I'm like a WoW player. I played WoW all my life, right? And if it's confusing to me, imagine someone that's never played an MMO. Imagine someone that's been like an FPS player or, you know, something else, right? MMOs are confusing, and I think that's why it's a little bit of like a dying genre nowadays compared to some other games. It's just hard to get into those, right? Vanilla was so confusing when it was launched. Remember walking into Skull Rock zones like, what's over here? I think it's what makes the games really great, but it's also what makes them not great. It's like a good and a bad thing. The big, you know, the grand thing that is so confusing, right? EverQuest was confusing and it was years before WoW. Yeah, it's just how the genre is, I think, right? Because it's such an advanced thing, right? Ed made a video on it if you want to check it out. Ed? Link it to me and I'll check it out, Smooth, for sure.
Coin. WoW Classic. I didn't think I was going to play it initially, but after some dude recommended it to me,
I hope he tries out Classic WoW.
I thought, why not? The graphics look like Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. But as someone who has played this game, I can't really judge. The quests don't hold your hand at all, and you actually have to read to know what the hell you have to do. But I actually find this feels more rewarding. At first, I wasn't sure if my first experience in this version of WoW should have been hardcore, but I had no regrets. With the lack of expansions, the player base was much more consolidated into leveling zones, and I found this led to more player interaction. I was always running into people having wholesome interactions. While progression was significantly slower than retail, like I said before, it just felt more rewarding. Upgrading my gear felt more impactful because I wouldn't find an upgrade 5 minutes later, and since
Dude, I'm such a fiend for classic, man. I hate it, man. I can just see, I know how I look like right now. I'm like, yeah, classic is so good, dude. And then when I watch, like, you know, the retail leveling, I'm like always like kind of, I just like it, man. I just think it's a good-ass game, okay? It's just a good-ass game. I mean, that's why I kind of streamed it the past, like, 4 or 5 years, right?
I only had one life. I had to be careful and make sure I was making the right call when running into monsters. I had to ask other players for help so I could clear out a cave. And once or twice, I ended up saving people's lives and being saved myself. One of the main differences I noticed was that Classic has a more simplistic talent tree and combat style. And I wasn't constantly at risk of epilepsy from the relentless TikTok dungeon strobe lights every time I enter the fight. But like I said, WoW Classic does not hold your hand. And if you play stupid games, you win accidentally running into a nearby zone and getting one-tapped by a Bluetooth bear. I'm still yet to progress super far into the content of WoW Classic, but so far, the leveling experience already feels rewarding in itself. Since you are starting at the very beginning of WoW, you are missing out on any previous details from other storylines, which feels pretty nice not having to watch 108 YouTube videos to find out why Commander Grimax is now the Horde's escort. To put it simply, WoW Classic really feels like a journey more than a race. But also, what the fuck? If you wonder which one I prefer, it's hard to say. Both games have their pros and cons.
Time is money, friend. Time is money, friend. Time is money, friend. Time is money, friend. Time is money, friend.
Oh my god.
Time is money, friend.
Jesus.
But I actually think they are too different to really compare anymore. I like the more chilled out grind of Classic, but I also enjoy the high octane, fast progression zug of retail. So I'm just enjoying.
That's really cool. I love seeing someone's completely unbiased view on it that doesn't have previous experience with WoW. Because I am obviously heavily biased towards Classic, right? But it's cool seeing an actual, kinda in a way, I mean, it's still his subjective opinion, but it's not coming from a WoW Andy, right? And we all, as WoW Andies, we already decided what we like, right? It's a rare breed. Yeah, it's a cool view on it.
Swapping between the two depending on how I'm feeling. I imagine that for a new player, retail might seem more compelling, better graphics, more content, fast progression, but then the simplicity of WoW Classic might appeal more to someone new to the MMO format. But I still think you'd be missing out if you tried one and not the other. What I really think drove me to continue playing WoW is the community I've been introduced to during my playthrough. I've had a somewhat unique experience because I've managed to meet so many people through my streams and videos. If I want to do a Mythic Plus or raid, I can just ask my guildmates to come with me so I don't get called a smooth-brained troglodyte because I didn't bring my study notes to the raid. I've heard from
WoW is a horrible game. If you don't have a community to play with and you're like just talking with complete strangers, it can be such a shit show, man. I'm not gonna lie. WoW is just, it's a fun game if you have people to play with, and if you don't, it's not very fun.
Some people that they actually stay away from groups,
especially in retail, because it's very POC heavy in retail, right? Like you gotta like find groups for everything.
Content for this very reason, which actually really sucks. Like, shouldn't you be happy to see newer players in your game? But because of this, I decided to make a community Discord where you can meet new players or maybe veterans who are just here to chill out, enjoy the game, show you the ropes. For me, it really has transformed the game from a solitary experience to more of a shared adventure. So if this interests you, be sure to check it out.
Badass.
I didn't really know how long my WoW journey was going to last. Starting as a troll warrior, smashing buttons, and now 1 year later, still pretty much doing the exact same thing. But at least now I am zugging away trying to complete my first heroic raid. Still somehow surviving my hardcore character, and still finding enjoyment in becoming a better player, while also having fun. I definitely prefer a more casual approach to this game instead of trying to min-max everything, which I think is only made possible because my community and guild can deal with my bullshit and carry me through content. If you're considering
I do agree. I think the best way to really play WoW is in a more casual approach, man. If you take it too seriously, you're just not gonna end up not having fun with it, I think. If a 14 managed to get a good way for raids in that regard, you either choose to play with learning players or you can go for the fast kill. Might be something WoW implements as well one day. I think WoW already took like some ideas. I mean, they take ideas literally from every other game, let's be honest. But they introduced like those NPC dungeons, so you could literally just do dungeons with like NPCs if you can't find a group, right? It's like that with games in general. If you take it too seriously, it takes away the game from it. Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, to a certain degree, for the most part, if you end up becoming too sweaty in something, you start not having as much fun. It becomes more about the competition, right? In that way, which can be fun for some people too. It's fair enough, you know.
Playing WoW, I'd say give it a shot with your friends, and if you don't have friends, then I guess just go fuck yourself. I'm excited to play WoW this year, and with the new expansion coming out soon, it'll be really interesting to experience it at the same time as everyone else. But until then, I'll just continue until I finally have a fucking seizure.
Did the math. I'm baby Johnny Cash.
Dude. Cool video though, cool video. I liked it. Rooks is an amazing YouTuber. I kind of hope he continues. I hope he continues playing, and I would like to see his opinion on SOD as well though. as a complete new player. I'm not sure if he has made a video on SOD quite yet, but it will be interesting to see him give that a try too, right?